Well, I mentioned that there's been a very different reaction from the Albanese government to the deaths of two Australians. Galit Carbone, who was deliberately killed by Hamas on October 7th, and Sharri Markson, who was accidentally killed by an Israeli airstrike. You can see on your screen the different treatment from the media as well. Now, the death of aid worker Sharri Markson was tragic, no question, and Australians have every right to be upset. But the government's response to Sharri's death compared to that of Galit's is so different that it's hard to stomach. There were no angry press conferences from the Prime Minister after Galit's murder, no calls for an inquiry, no special envoy. Galit Carbone was the only Australian who was killed by Hamas on October 7, and her brother, Geoffrey Majzner, joins me now live from Israel. Geoffrey, thank you very much for your time, and I'm sorry again for your loss. Look, 6 months now since your sister's murder. Can you first take us back to that day? How did you learn that Galit had been killed by terrorists?
Okay, well, thanks for having me, Sharri. It took me a few days really to figure out for sure because I spoke to her, or I voiced messaged her at 12:09 midday, and then it was 10 minutes after that no one had any contact with her, and then she was shot. But it took about 3 days to identify her and go through all the deals of DNA and whatsoever. So it took really 3 days after.
And
We thought at one stage that, yeah, sorry.
No, please don't apologise. What actually happened to her? How was she killed?
She was alone in her home, like I was in my home for 20 hours in a safety room. We spoke earlier, and she said, they're in at my house. I can't hold the handle of the safety room. And I said, don't worry, the soldiers will be here in no time. And that was it. She was in a safety room. You can't lock it, really. She held the handle. They came in and shot her in cold blood, really.
I'm so sorry. Do you get the sense now that the international community seems to be forgetting or doesn't care anymore about what actually happened on October 7, and also the 134 people, innocent people, who are still being held hostage?
Well, to start with, the international opinion has gone way beyond any nightmare, to be honest. There's it's all over the place, all over the world. People just don't even think or thought that the 7th really existed, and it happened. People think it's like the Holocaust. It's just a make-up fairy tale that someone invented. And that's what really frustrating us all here, that it's for real. We live it day by day. We still live it. I commute from Tel Aviv to Be'eri every day to work, and I go on the place and I see all the burnt places and I see everything. And people take me, ask me to take them for tours to see what really happened. And I took Australian diplomats, I took Aboriginal leaders to this place, and it was really, they came out of this tour as if, okay, we read, we heard, we saw, but after taking the tour with you, it's something else, really.
And yet our Foreign Minister Penny Wong refused to visit the kibbutzes and the site of the massacre. What do you think about that?
Well, my cousin Julian Kepi wrote a letter to her, and one of her aides, or her, whatever, responded in such a cold and weak manner that it's really insulting, telling me, oh, we visited Mr. Dayan, chairman of Yad Vashem. Who gives a D, Really, you could visit Mr. Chairman at any other 364 other days of the year. You come as an Australian representative, go down to the kibbutzim, see what happened. You've got an Australian that was murdered here. Come and see the family, ask her kids, her brother, her father, something. The Australian ambassador came to the funeral, and the consul came to the funeral, and we felt like we're part of another place altogether. We felt them, but after that, nothing, Sharri, nothing.
And then you've seen the reports about the Australian government, including Penny Wong's response to the death of Sharri Markson. What do you think about the comparison, how different that was to how they responded when your sister was deliberately murdered, gunned down in her safe room by Hamas terrorists?
And I know that I'm being interviewed here by you, but I think no words is the best comment that I can come up with, because it's not even insulting Sharri anymore, because we're starting to get used to it after 6 months. But I'm speechless, seriously speechless, because putting my sister in page five at the background there, in case someone will read it, and putting the aid worker, as sad as it is, and the Israeli government apologized and they're putting an inquiry through it. It is sad, every death, but come on, let's not compare here the level of death here. Come on, seriously.
Geoffrey Majzner, I really appreciate you joining me tonight. I know it's difficult to speak about, but like I do, I know you feel passionately about reminding everyone what happened 6 months ago and the plight of the hostages as well. And we remember them every day. Geoffrey, really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me online. Thank you very much, Sharri.
Thank you.